Hey,
was waiting for
everybody.
Chris to come in. Hi, everyone. It's me, Keishara. And I am joined today by Dr. Sarah Hayes, PsyD. I'm really excited for this interview, and I hope that you are too. Um,
Yeah,
Chris, are there any donations or anything you want to catch us up on before we run into the interview?
no, we don't have any new donations at the moment. And I know we're going to be talking about Take This for a while. So both of you go ahead.
Perfect. Yeah, and speaking of donations, maybe I'd like to just open this up with Sarah. Can you tell us a little bit about um, what Take This is and basically how the money that we are raising helps you?
Absolutely. Hey, everybody. So what Take This is, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that seeks to dismantle stigma and educate about and advocate for better support and knowledge of mental health and mental illness in the games industry and games enthusiasts community. And so we do that through several methods. We have everything from a Discord community that's thriving to outreach content created on our website. We have arguably, and I know I have bias because I work for Take This and I love my org, but arguably one of the best resource hubs for mental health resources you can find out there on our website. That's just takethis.org/resources. We also do all kinds of things like workshops and trainings for initiatives around mental health and support in the workspace in the games industry, especially on things like burnout and how to optimize game design for factors like mental health and inclusivity of mental illness. We also do outreach and trainings for other topics. So definitely a resource worth checking out. We do everything from convention outreach as well to making sure that the spaces we share are safe and wonderful places. So we have Take This ambassadors on Twitch. We have the AFK room at the convention. So if you've ever been to PAX, Gen Con, we've done Dragon Con in the past. There's so many conventions we've been at, but it's the most boring room by design, the AFK room, a space where you can absolutely go and sit down and have quiet and be in an area devoid of input. And that is incredibly on purpose. So that way you can just sort of have a break from the overload of a convention. And there are trained therapists that are staffed in that space in order to help effectively support everyone there. We also have the Hope booth at conventions so people can come and learn more and get connected if they want to volunteer or learn about our org. We have research. We have our research director, Dr. Rachel Cohort, who has incredible content out there. So I could keep going, but this is just a sampling of the things we do at Take This and where our funds go when we get loving and kind donations like what you all provide here. So we're just so excited to be here and have this opportunity. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, Sarah, can you tell us a little bit about what you do at Take This?
Yeah. So I've been with Take This since 2018, and I have been doing clinical contributing since that time. And so I've done things like help write the State of the Industry white paper that we released in 2019. And then I also have written articles and such. I've done lots of talks and workshops, trainings. I do a lot of content. I'm on the Twitch streams every other week that we do. So if it's content, I'm usually there.
What kind of content are you doing on your Twitch streams right now?
Yeah, so I do the Twitch Plays content with Dr. Kelly Dunlap and Liz Fantastic. And so we will play games that either bring the community together, like this week, of course, the game isn't the very best example of this, but we played some Fortnite last night. We've also played games like Fall Guys or Jackbox, and so we do monthly community nights on our Twitch streams, and then we also have games that we'll play that highlight particular topics. We were recently playing Rainbow Billy, which is a game that replaces turn-based combat with turn-based dialogue that's about supporting
Oh,
people and helping them through conflict in order to reinforce friendships and stuff. So we play lots of, yeah, it's a very fun one. Rainbow Billy, The Curse of the Leviathan. There's some fun games out there. So we play some games that are about mental health and various topics and address reactions that we have as we're playing the game. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. I remember seeing I believe it was Dr. B and
Hmm?
maybe it was Dr. Kelly Dunlap who
Yeah.
was on there, and they were playing. I can't remember the name of the game from the life of me, but they were playing. It was like a mental health simulator, like where you're working in like a mental health thing, but you're online and it's all scripted. So like
Oh,
like basically you tell the custom like your patients who you're like meeting with like on a chat room, you're like, I recommend this medication for you, and I remember them going, that's not the first thing I would do. So
so
it was
Kelly's in the chat. She says it's Eliza.
Eliza, that's it. Yes, I remember that. And I remember going, I really want to go back and watch the rest of this and actually play it myself, because it was something that was really interesting to see like live input on, going, ooh, or yes. And
Yeah.
seeing that from Dr. Kelly Dunlap and Dr. B is always really fun. So if you're not following Take This's Twitch channel, definitely do it. They have a lot of fun on there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we definitely do. Also, I'm seeing in the chat, Rainbow Billy is on sale on Steam. It's also free with Xbox Games Pass. So, word to the wise. Um, yes, that's
Perfect.
definitely an excellent resource. But we have a lot of fun on our Twitch. And then on the weekends, once monthly I produce. So I'm the behind the scenes person for the monthly diversity initiative that Cassie Walker does on our channel, and they're incredible and do either they host or have built a really incredible focused diversity topics every month. So we have I'm trying to remember the exact title of it, and now I'm going to pull it up because, of course, I don't remember the exact title of it on the spot. But
Always.
this month is going to be on March 18th. We're going to have South Asian mental health and gaming. So experiences shared by folks who identify with that experience and heritage, and discussing their experience of gaming through that lens. So
That's
fun
really
stuff.
cool. I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Are there any other initiatives that you're really looking forward to coming this year in 2023?
Hmm. Some are locked behind NDAs, so I'm not going to go there because I like my job. It's always a problem. Let's see. So I'm really excited for the research initiative that Dr. Rachel Coward is doing with extremism in games. We're doing a lot of great work with continuing to connect thoughtfully with convention spaces and making sure there's supportive things there. This PAX, we're going to be doing a partnership with the Games and Online Harassment Hotline. And beyond my role here, I also am an advisor for them. And so it's really fun to kind of see how that's all coming together and how those resources can volley back and forth with one another, because so often folks who experience harassment struggle with mental health as a result. And sometimes we are dealing with mental illness, and then sometimes we get harassed, and then it compounds. So that's definitely something I'm super excited about, and we've got a bunch of other initiatives coming down the pipeline that I'm thrilled to see. So definitely more information as the week comes along. I would say ask that question to Rachel and Kelly too, and they'll probably be able to tell you even more.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there's things that maybe you're excited about, but they're excited about other things. Everything always
Yeah.
sounds exciting with Take This, but I'm sure you all have like your kind of favorite pet projects that are going on. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right. Let's see. Speaking of conventions in kind of 2023, I know you mentioned PAX. Like, what are off the top of your head that you can remember right now? Which conventions are we planning on seeing you at this year?
Oh gosh. Okay.
All
So
of them.
I don't have a direct answer to that question, but I
No,
can
I'm
ask and
joking.
give you a direct answer to that question shortly.
Yeah.
Well,
We'll look for the answer in chat.
sounds good. Let
Yeah.
me
I'll keep an eye
see.
out for that. I also want to just say thank you, Metroid Crime, for the raid that just came in. We are currently doing an
Yay!
interview with the charity Take This.
Thank you. Let's see. You know, I I meant to be here much earlier so that I could speak with Sarah, and I got caught up at work. So I wasn't fully prepared with a whole big, nice list of questions. So if you have anything that you would like to ask to Dr. Sarah, please put it in chat, and we can definitely address that. And I'm seeing all the PAXs at least.
Yes.
Perfect.
Not the Australia one, but the US side PAXs. Yes.
How much do we need to raise for you all to get to the Australia one?
Ooh, that's another fair question. That I do not know. But
$30,000.
That's
no
an exciting goal.
Australia yet.
Okay, so it looks like we are planning on PAX East, MomoCon West, and Unplugged for the other two PAXs. It looks like we're going to be at GDC. And Kelly is saying Games for Change as far as representatives who will be there. And I know there's probably going to be AFK rooms at the PAXs and MomoCon. So at least there is that.
That's above your pay grade. Oh my goodness. We'll find out. That's hey Valkyries, this is I'm making this our future goal. Take this to Australia PAX.
Let's go.
I don't hear any dissent from the one Valkyrie who's in this call, so it should be fine. Perfect. Yeah. So Dr. Sarah, I'm seeing a whole lot of like interesting things in the background here. And I think one of my favorite things I'm seeing back there so far on that shelf is that pink N64. Can you tell us a little bit about what kind of brought you into gaming and you know, basically probably what kind of like brought you in to take this as a result, but like when did you start gaming, and I guess what's your favorite system? What's your favorite game series?
Oh gosh, no pressure. So okay, I, as many of us, have an older brother and thus played Luigi many times in my early childhood. I was thrown the controller for second player many times over. And after that, I just loved video games. That was the way I connected with my dad, with my brother, with my mom. And then, you know, I think being a teenager in the era of the Wii really doubled that. But I was always a big fan of N64. I'm a big sucker for games like Luigi's Mansion, Super Mario 64, the Ocarina of Time. So some of those games were just really foundational to my being. And then as I grew up, I was a big Nintendo nerd. And have a soft spot for those. And then I branched into, of course, PlayStation and Xbox, and tend to be a dual carrier. I'm not a single party player. And then gaming on the PC. So it's just kind of grown into an all platforms, tabletop and beyond gamer. If I was hard pressed to answer what's my favorite gaming series of all time, I would probably say BioShock is what I always return to. Yes. And then I always like kind of the spooky, gotta figure things out, story-based stuff. Just has a special spot in my heart. And then yeah, I'm trying to remember what else you said.
I think that was everything. How did your journey into mental health start?
Oh, yes. Okay. So when I was younger, I got to spend some time with a school counselor in my, like, the equivalent of middle school. We had junior high, so it's like 7th through 9th grade, because my brother was learning how to live with his neurodivergence, and I was heavily encouraged by my mother because the school counselor was so kind to him. To connect with her. And so then I found out she was running a positive role models program in junior high. So then I participated in that for a long time and learned that while school counseling wasn't for me, I really liked the topic of mental health and really cared about creating and hosting these positive spaces for people, these healthy, supportive spaces for people. So that was always a passion of mine. And then found that, like, I was always that person that people came to and talked to, and came to for advice. And so then, of course, I was like, maybe I should be a therapist. And so very young, I started looking at mental health as my trajectory, and just kind of always knew that's what I was built for. So here I am years later doing the thing. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. The opposite of my evil origin story. Is that correct?
I love it.
See, I had a question and then I read chat and it just like it went out of my head and into the ether. It's it's the normal ADHD thing. I have this all the time. Let's see. Oh boy. Well, chat, quick ask a question while I'm trying to remember what I was going to ask.
Can I step in? I just have a quick thing I want to remind everybody of as well. We don't have any new donations, but a little bit later on tonight, we have a showcase, which is going to be fantastic, of Beat Mania. And you can donate $20 to take this. And when you do that, you can pick a song that you want to be included in the set list. So, and when you go to donate, there will be a list of songs that you can choose from, but they're all really, really good. And Sparkover is eager to play all of your song requests. So if you want to donate to take this, if you want to pick a song for not too far in the future tonight, you can put your money to a good cause and get a song that will be just for you from Sparkover.
It's awesome.
Awesome. I'm seeing in chat from Natara that you have a presentation topic I should be asking about. I like
I am. So one of the things I specialize in is it sort of started with identity exploration and how we do that through the characters we play, and then it expanded into diversity and representation in the games industry and in games. So that's something I can wax poetic about for many hours, but suggested as a potential topic for this evening.
Yeah, I love it. Well, let's get started into that.
Sure.
All right. Go! I'm pressing the go button.
I'm ready.
Let's see. Minnie, let's see. Or should I be asking you some questions? Let's see. I'll let you go.
I didn't know I was supposed to have a spiel. I just thought it was a topic we'd just go for.
Yeah, okay. All right. Let's see.
I hear there's opinions in chat.
Opinions. I think we're talking about opinions with Kirk versus Picard or Cisco versus Janeway.
Oh boy. Kirk or Picard? What if I said I was only a person who consumed the first iteration of Star Trek and am woefully behind on that fandom?
What would you say if I've only watched a Star Trek movie on an airplane tour from Japan at some point and I don't remember anything about it?
I'm glad we mutually have no judgment amongst each other, but I'm going to guess the chat doesn't feel the same
way. So tell me a little bit about kind of finding like gender diversity and like the roles you play in video games. What is it about?
So I was initially inspired with my dissertation to sort of look into this because I was playing Shadow of Mordor and realized that you could choose between a dude presenting person and a lady presenting person. And the lady presenting person not only was later an NPC who you interacted with in the game, but also like sometimes the sounds were not the same. And this is not me trying to bash on any game. It's a very fun game to play, in fact. But it made me wonder, like, what is it about the characters we play and what about that was so important as to like, from a game development standpoint, the characters were given to choose between and the design elements were given to choose between make a big difference to players. That's the super summative version of how we can say the research points towards. But the options we get also say something about us as ourselves. And I will always pick not cishet white dude able appearing characters if I have the choice. And that says something about me because that's something I value is seeing representation in a game that I play. And so very often we pick characters or we pick game experiences that represent ourselves. But also we sometimes want to explore and see what it might be like to lead life differently, or in a particular yeah, the Keyblade, a particular fashion. And so that led me down that rabbit hole, and then I realized that the research was pointing towards how representation in the games industry also, it can be a factor in how games dictate and describe representation. And then that also plays into how stories are told and how characters are built and how elements of those characters are built and the choices we get. And so it's kind of this big cyclical thing. And so I've jumped wholeheartedly into that as a focus, and am finding that, as we can guess, diversity really, really matters, because the more diverse our teams are and the more diverse our games are, the more enriched of an experience we have as players. So
yeah, I feel like I remember, like, my mind goes back to Harvest Moon, for example, the old school Natsume ones, where I remember I would like, first you had the option to play only as the boy character, because that's all there was. And then I remember I would always choose the girl character if I could. Sorry for the train in the background if you can hear it, but it's coming. But I think what I remember the most is when Harvest Moon implemented same-sex relationships. I stopped playing the girl character because I wanted to play the boy character and date the boys.
There's an element of self-exploration. There's that bit of like, what would this be like through this lens?
Yeah. And and I guess for people in chat who don't know kind of about me a little bit, I identify as gender fluid. I still am definitively kind of like femme leaning, but there is just part of me who goes, girl, not me. Boy, most definitely not. Probably mostly just non-binary femme leaning. But it's taken a long time for me to kind of fall into this and kind of understand like where I am. And I remember being really scared when I started like exploring my like what my gender meant to me, because I didn't understand, especially coming from like being mostly femme leaning, but like, so I was like, am I still a girl? And like not understanding that there can be something outside of that, and really trying to understand that. I remember feeling really scared for a while. I would call my best friend and be like, will you hate me?
Oh,
yeah. I remember it was a very touching phone call. I was still in Japan at the time. We talked for like 2 hours or something. She's like, no, Anna, I will never hate you. You're always my best friend. And I'm just like, oh. Yeah, let's see. I'm seeing a lot of great topics in chat, but I'm seeing something that I wanted to bring up because Reiko Dactylus is mentioning Sims 4, and I play a lot of Sims 4. I'm super excited about the update coming up next month. But there have been so many new additions to the Sims 4, not only in gender representation, but with you know, racial representation as well, where they're working with creators to have like POC creators to have like hairstyles for POC characters added in and things. And I guess do you follow any of like kind of what's going on in The Sims 4?
I don't follow The Sims too closely, but I definitely know that they're platform and format makes it so much friendlier for them to add in these kinds of changes over time, which is really lovely to see. But also they've always been sort of by format on that edge of like being more custom. There's also a lot of I think a lot of I'm trying to remember the scholar's name. My brain is just like, names, topics out the window. Don't have it. There's Video Games and Hobbies. That's literally the book I was thinking about and trying to remember the author's name. Literally. Because there's this bit about how like queering video games is something that we do a lot, which is what you're describing, where you're playing a character different than yourself in order to engage in a queer dynamic. For your Bo Ruberg, she's incredible.
Thanks, Scala.
It's clutch. It's a dynamic where we as a population, I myself identify as queer. We end up sort of making it work for us the way we want it to work for us, regardless. But Sims gives an opportunity where we don't have to fake it. We don't have to break the game to make the game do what we want it to do, right? It's a game where we can actually engage in that. Like there's games along the way that have sort of given us that opportunity, like Dragon Age Origins or obviously Second Life or other like sim or RP platforms where we can do those things. I think that those sorts of interactive MMORPG sort of settings really make it doable. And the Sims or similar like life sims generally, as long as you're given an avatar like that, they do a great job because it makes a lot of sense. But
and just for people who don't follow the Sims, I watch Sims YouTubers like literally every day. This has become the hole that I live in, and I love it because it's beautiful in here. You should, if you don't watch Sims YouTubers, maybe just do it. I don't know. But one of the things that I remember being very excited about in a recent update, and then we could change topics because there's a great question in chat I want to read to you.
Sure.
But one of the most recent updates has added in top scars and medical wearables. So there's some like glucose trackers, and then they have like hearing aids and stuff in the Sims 4 now. So
awesome.
There's like this beautiful diversity that like even like I've got a niece and she's got a hearing aid, and I remember for a long time we thought we might all need to learn, you know, sign language. I should really still learn sign language. This is something that is like on my bucket list, and I'm just like one of those things I keep putting off. So it's like, well, I don't need it right now, and I should just do it. Just do it. But you know, so I see that, and I'm like, I see her in that, and I go, wow, this is a beautiful addition that, you know, it helps encompass who she is as well, even though I don't think she plays The Sims. So let's see. So Sarah, I've got a question for you from good old Dr. Goose. What was the first character / game where you felt seen?
This is going to feel silly, but Mario Kart or Mario Party, where I could play Peach. Obviously, that's a very elementary version of myself. If you want to really go for realism and directly feeling seen, unlike Sims, I have fallen very severely down the GTA roleplay rabbit hole. And so literally, my avatar looks of me almost. And it is creepy. And in fact, so creepy. You can ask Kelly. We have a presentation that we do in a workshop where about optimizing game design and including diversity factors. And there is a side-by-side comparison of said character and myself. So theoretically, that's the most direct application. But I think any game where it's not, Peach is a hard one, right? Because it's like, as a child, that was really important. And as I grew up, seeing characters in games that weren't just girls in dresses looking for cishet white able dudes trying to save them. It was about gender diversity or neutral pronouns, or seeing people who were not just those male protagonists doing the thing and being able to have their own power, their own storyline. You know, Lydia in Skyrim, even though she is second to you, is a powerful character who goes and does her own thing and holds her own. Literally, she's very helpful. She's kind of a pack horse in some senses, but like it's about that level of visibility and being able to feel like there's someone even remotely similar on the screen.
I am sworn to carry your burdens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually, you mentioned that, I was just like, I'm over here smirking. I've been replaying Skyrim recently, and I've got a character, I'm playing with a bunch of mods and stuff, but I've got a character that my chat helped me basically build, and we decided they're gender neutral. They've got they them pronouns, and they are the childhood friend of Eric the Slayer. So we started out with Eric the Slayer from Rorik instead in our as our companion, and the character I'm playing has a very has the feminine build. They own things, and you mentioned Lydia, and I'm like, it's basically like this, and it's very fun to see a character with a build similar to mine, climbing on top of a dragon and smacking it in the head.
Right. Yeah. And it's not just wait. She doesn't sit there and drop stuff and wait and clutch her pearls. She's right there with you. It's great.
Yeah, that's so fun. Sarah, can you tell me a little bit about like any journeys you've gone through with like people helping kind of discover their gender diversity in TTRPGs?
Sure. Yeah, I like to utilize games in therapy. Okay, I'll back up. I'm a clinical contributor for Take This. It is an incredible, incredible thing to do, and I love my job there very much. I also work for 2 other nonprofits. I'm a full-time therapist for Game to Grow, and I am the director of programming at Queer Women of Esports. And so in my work as a therapist, that's like my main day-to-day thing. I utilize games and that specialty on a regular basis with many of my clientele. Now, in that format, I like to use a top sheet, like a character creation sheet, and say, okay, make me your ideal self.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? What does it look like? What are the pronouns? What are the character class? What are the, like, tell me all of the details. Give me some lore. Give me some backstory. This isn't about realism. This is about, if you were a fantasy character, what would you be like? And sometimes that is a really useful way, because it's harder in real life to just be like, I identify like this, actually. That's part of the really difficult experience that like, I can't speak for this experience. I do not identify as trans or non-binary, but I know so many have reported, both in research and colloquially, friends, peers, colleagues, everybody. It is hard to present as who you are internally, as your true self externally, when not everyone is accepting of that identity in society. And being able to do that through the filter of games can be a much safer format to test the waters, to try it on, to just sort of see what it's like. And it's a safer container, especially when applied in the therapeutic context, of course, because then we can talk about it and be intentional with that. And I do get a fair amount of queer clients who are at various stages of their self-exploration in that way, because I mean, that's what I put out there as like, this is something I do. So people do come for it. But yeah, and trying like the metaphorical, we'll do small one-shots together, small social situations together. How would you overcome this sort of a difficulty, or how would you explore or engage in this way socially? And it's so fruitful, because it's a way of practicing thinking in a very different way, where like, not about gender, but about empowerment. I once had a client who went through trauma at school, and helping this person through was playing a lot of Breath of the Wild. And so we started sort of employing the mantra of, okay, if you were Link, what would you do in this situation? How would you behave at school? How would you conduct yourself? What would you do? And that sort of created this mental duplicity of like, I don't have to just be me feeling hurt and afraid and scared and in my trauma. You can think about that character as a representative internally of self, of empowerment, and it can be so helpful to become more of who you are inside in a removed format. Like, analogy is such a powerful format, because it means we don't have to point directly at the thing that hurts or that is hard or that is scary. We can look at it through a lens, but know exactly what we're saying and be able to really engage with it without fear or the normal response that we have inside with ourselves of, I don't know if I'm ready for that, or I don't know if I can tackle this in this way. Okay, let's look at it through a game. Games are a thing we've approached and learned are fun and exploratory and reward us for doing exploratory or different things. There's less consequences. There's less moral standard we have to live by if we choose to go and make questionable ethical choices, not about identity, but about the things we do as behaviors and what that means about us as people. Games like Undertale and how that morally conflicts with us inside, and what that actually means about us as real people, not the avatar on the screen. Yeah. But also through identity exploration of like, yeah, actually, you know what? That does feel more like me to use these pronouns or those pronouns, or to have this sort of physical presentation. And while I wouldn't have thought to have tried on something different or wear my hair or my clothing this way to gender present in public, this format feels exciting or interesting or at home somehow. So I'm going off on a tangent. I'm so sorry.
You're
but
fine. We're all over here listening. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, you're just talking about it, and like I'm hearing so many things, and then you mentioned like how you present yourself, and I remember like for whatever reason today I felt like I never wear makeup. I need to be very clear with you. I never wear makeup. Today I felt like putting the makeup on. I was like,
Sure.
well, I even went so far as to like put like blush on. I didn't just do my eyes. I'm sure nobody can tell because I'm Zoom with like, question.
It looks fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those things where I was like, wow, you know what? Like it was just like I feel like I feel like the thought in my mind was I feel like looking pretty today.
Sure. Yeah. And I love the approach of like being able to do that when you feel like doing that. And then there's no pressure. Like, I wish society didn't put these very strict expectations of what gender norm is on us, because there's so much more room for non-judgmental engagement. And like, I feel like being pretty today. I feel like not wearing makeup today. I feel like wearing this kind of a thing today. And that fluidity, that's wonderful that you have that. And I appreciate that.
Thank you. I really enjoy it. I've actually got a question from Scala for you, kind of going back to queer women of esports. Have you ever considered branching out into working with queer women speedrunners?
I would love to. Hit me up. Yes, please. We're always looking for partnerships and collaborations. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, Scala, go.
I love it.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh no, my mind went blank. Oh boy, I can't even speak English right now. My mind went blank, Sarah. Let's see. We can always talk about more gender diversity. What's a fun gender diverse game that you've played recently?
Oh. Gender diverse game I've played recently. I'm trying to think. We were playing Validate on Take This Plays earlier this month. That was really wonderful and has a great variety of diversity in many forms, which I really appreciate. I'm trying to think. There was another game that was coming up in my mind that I was playing that allowed for, it's funny, Rainbow Billy. We were playing Rainbow Billy and Billy goes by they, them, which is lovely.
That's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
See, Liz Favtastic comes in with a question. Has there ever been a game that has let you down?
So many. If you want to start a debate amongst queer folks, bring up Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh boy,
that game was very bittersweet for a number of reasons. I don't know how family friendly this stream is, so I'm gonna stop there. But there were many factors as far as the forms of interaction. At me next time. The forms of interaction you can have in that game that were really meaningful and built up to be something that they weren't necessarily all at. Also, the way in which you could design your character feels very echoic of a binary system, but sort of retooled in a more open format. So it didn't feel quite as thorough as it could have been done for all the effort that was put into that mechanic, and that mechanic dictates so much. So I think there's a ludological aspect there of how that was received poorly. But then again, there were some portrayals of characters that were really rich storylines that didn't make the, like, I don't know, just like in TV or comics, there are so many storylines where they either kill off the queer couple or one of the people in the queer couple or make them the bad guy, or like there's a clear reason where this is like life destroying for somebody. And it's really lovely to see games not do that narrative. And at the same time, there's so many. I don't know if echoic is a word, but I use it a lot. Maybe I made it up, but you know what I meant.
It's a word now.
It is a word now. Let's put it in the dictionary, make it a thing. Yeah, ludological. That is the big word of the day. Yeah, ludology is the study of games. So ludological has to do with like the mechanics of how the game is built. But I think that it's there's so many games that let me down. Like Shadow of Colossus let me down. Or Shadow of Mordor, not Shadow of Colossus. Shadow of Colossus is a glorious game. There's so many games that let me down. Just make everything an option. Make everything an option. I know that's a big ask, but make everything an option.
Yeah,
that's what I want to know.
agree. Let's see. Liz would like to know, did you cry at the last episode of Last of Us?
Is trying to publicly embarrass me because she knows that I'm holding off on watching it because I'm going to binge it with my partner.
How many?
So I haven't watched it yet, but I know I'm going to cry. I'm not ashamed to say it. Crying is a biological reaction to strong emotions. It's fine.
I often feel like, I guess,
love you, Liz. It's okay. I'm sorry.
Embarrassed is probably the correct word because that's how I think I feel. But I often feel like embarrassed when I get like teary-eyed from like really strong emotions that like aren't necessarily like sad, for example. So I often feel like, oh no, why am I crying? This is, for me, I feel embarrassed, even though I definitely shouldn't. It's normal reaction. But it's definitely a systemic kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, they're mentioning the spicy tax. But I wanted to actually bring up, Scala Kitty is mentioning it in chat as well. Have you seen or heard of Haven?
I'm gonna Google it to double check, but it sounds familiar. Oh, that is a clothing line.
Oh,
hello.
No.
Yes, this is on my list actually.
We watched Scala play this yesterday, and it is fantastic. And you get to choose the genders of the main characters, and unfortunately you get between M and F, but you know, you can choose both male, both female. So it's very fun and very, very queer. So we liked it here. See, Liz, with another question. Outside of the characters we play, what games and the game industry, what do games and the game industry need to do in order to diversify gaming space?
Yes. So the stories in the background, the stories of the characters that you interact with, something that happens is when you interact with an NPC or you interact with an environment in a game, there's sort of this, the delivery of it is different from like a book or a TV show where we have time. It's very flattened and compressed into this very micro interaction. And so you get this very quick sample of a character or a story or an environment or a culture. Getting those right is really important because studies show that the games and the things that we consume predominantly, repeatedly over time in communications theory points to that's how we understand and interpret the world. Now, games are becoming the primary media form for an overwhelming amount of our population. So making games right means you are helping feed the culture and narrative of what people understand concepts, cultures, identities to be. So everything in the game matters. Everything. Pronouns, stories, character names, character emoting, character, like mental health will go off and talk for a very long time about how it's very unfortunate to paint someone as like psycho or like crazy, and they're the bad guy because they're crazy. And not only are those terms that are like stigmatized and weighted down with that that Kelly's gonna go wax poetic on that, so I'm not gonna talk about it. But I think part of it is, especially when it comes to representation of everything from like race, culture, physical ability, disability, neurospicy, queerness, is adding nuance in an understated way. Yeah.
Love it.
Where it's not a thing, but it's a thing. Like that is a thing that that character has, and it isn't this major roadblock, or you don't have to fix it with bionics, but like it just is, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah. I love like when, and you were mentioning this with like just like micro interactions with games where you, when you talk to people and you really do get like an idea of like their life, and it's like representational of where they live, and like if it's supposed to be like a real world like mirror to, like even if it's in a fantasy world, like mirror something in our real world. I love it when that really does mirror, and you can see that there is effort and research put into this, and you're like, wow, this character really really looks, feels, sounds like even if it's different, you're like, okay, well I can really tell they put in the research of you know, living in Madagascar,
Sure.
because I, you know, like if I look this up on Google, I can find very similar things and see, and but I see, you know, like I love it when you have those kinds of those interactions that really feel like they tell a story of like a real populace somewhere else, and it's not the stereotypical, well, everybody in this world, even though they all live in different environments and everything, they've all got the same culture. That's it. They're wearing winter clothes in this winterland. They're wearing, you know, bikinis and things in the summerland. All the same culture. So
Right.
I always find that really frustrates me, because it's like if you live in the winterlands, you're gonna have a different culture than the people who live over where it's hot all the time. So, and definitely feel like I've seen more of this being like a writer and like a world builder myself, and you know, going, yeah, yes, Scala, world building is so important. If you're working on any kind of story, world building, we love it.
Yes.
Let's see. Okay, what's the quintessential problematic queer mental health trope in video games, and why is it Sander Cohen?
It is Sander Cohen, though. As much as I love BioShock, it is, because there's this taboo. There's this like, it's like Silence of the Lambs, or oh, what's that Adam Sandler, Billy Madison, where it's like, oh, the creepy guy is the one who puts on the lipstick and maybe identifies as something other than cishet male. Like, Sander Cohen's gay. Okay, cool. Sander Cohen is also very, very, very mentally ill and murderous. Those two things don't have to be because of each other. Like, ugh, gross. Don't put those together because that's why. Put those together because they just so happen to coincide. But when you are portraying that, that's how people see. That's where we get this nasty narrative of bathrooms are dangerous places if we don't create rules around them and gender. And it's like, everybody wants to go to the bathroom and leave. Tell me, I'm going to hold my tongue. But this is where we have such a cultural impact, because it's like, being queer is really hard. Being oppressed in any identity is really, really stinking hard. Let's not make it harder by painting it as tropes and stigmas in the things we're trying to engage with. Because then also for those of us like who, for anybody, hopefully, but for those of us who identify with one of the things that is being portrayed as oppressed and then is also inevitably paired with something negative, it's like, cool. Another person who is represented in this way. Like, I had such a hard time with Overwatch. Like, Sigma was originally portrayed with bare feet, and they interviewed why does Sigma have bare feet, because he's from an institution. Come on. From a mental institution, so they're not allowed shoes, because what are they going to do with shoes? Because they're violent. Who says they're violent? They're more likely to be perpetrated against with violence than to perpetrate it, but okay. But and so there's this whole bit of like, something is wrong with someone. Like, think about the word queer. We are reclaiming it, but it is a word that comes from being strange or unusual, right? Like,
yeah,
it's about that aspect of being different, and it's okay to be different versus it's not okay to be different. And when we see characters like like all of these characters are discussing, it portrays it as if it's not okay to be different in the way that you are. And it doesn't have to be that way. Society doesn't have to follow that. We can be accepting, tolerant, understanding, or respectful and just let other people live their lives. It doesn't have to change your life if someone else is different from you.
Imagine. It would be so nice if people would just be like, you know what, Sarah, we're different. It scares me a little, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Awesome.
Oh, if only. Let's see. Let other people. Oh, we need the clapping emoji between those. Let other people live their lives. Yes.
Right. That's it.
Yep. My favorite bathroom interaction is when I interact with nobody. Agreed.
Sure. Yeah.
Agreed.
That's great. Privacy is an excellent thing.
Agreed. So you said that, and suddenly I remember that the bathrooms in Japan have the stall doors all the way down. There's like an inch between the stall door and the floor. And I remember coming back to the US and going, why are the stall doors so short? They're like,
apparently there is a reason for that. I don't remember what it is, but apparently there's choice behind that for purpose.
Weird. Let's see, totally unrelated but totally relevant question. Who are you in Bluey?
I don't know.
I have heard a lot about Bluey. I've got a good friend who's got a 3-year-old who is the smartest little kiddo I have ever known. And I've known quite a few 3-year-olds since I was an English teacher in Japan. Bluey is, I believe, is it Australian? Is that right? It's a children's show. And as my friend puts it, it is a children's show for parents because kids get to watch it, but you learn about how to be a parent. So
it is. And now I'm like anxiously, Kelly and I believe, have talked on a podcast about Bluey before, and I don't remember for the life of me. My brain is doing that whole who is what, where, when, how. I'm trying to remember. I feel like all of those characters are so good. I am going to flip that back on you, Kelly. Who am I in Bluey? I would trust your judgment.
There we go, Kelly. We've got a real question for you and Jet. Let's see.
Reverse card.
I did see a comment that I wanted to read out to you from chat from our previous discussion. So Rego Dackless mentions it's probably also worth noting that some of the relationship between queerness and some kinds of mental health issues is because society by and large mistreats and stigmatizes queerness. And this just really goes back to, of course, us talking about just let people live your lives, but it's very cyclical, like you mentioned before, where we see it presented this way, it must be this way, so we treat people this way, and then the people who are treated this way are frustrated.
Yeah. That's the whole hysteria uterus situation. Like, you are receiving biologically assigned female individuals as hysterical because they have emotions, but not because they're being hysterical, but because you have, it's a circle. It's bad. Now I want to know who Wendy is.
Wendy or Pom Pom?
Oh, geez. Wendy is Judo's mother and Bluey and Bingo's next door neighbor. Is that a good thing? I don't know what this means. I don't remember. It's a mystery to us all.
Wendy's a good one, apparently.
Okay. Okay, it's a good thing. I accept this compliment. Thank you.
Everyone, I guess put your favorite Bluey characters in chat.
Yes.
Quads of Steel.
Ooh. I don't know if I have quads of steel, but I appreciate that. Sure. Yep.
Let's see. 2023 goal. Be like Wendy. Quads.
Don't skip leg day.
Don't skip leg day. I always skip. I can't skip leg day. My physical therapist yells at me. I've been going to physical therapy for back things, and I joke about my insurance is basically paying for me to have a personal trainer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a cool loophole.
Yeah. Let's see, how much time do we have left? Moonblaze, what is our schedule?
Let's see here. So it looks like I'm gonna do the responsible thing and hit the refresh button.
Ha.
It looks like we have until about 46 after the hour, so maybe 5-7 minutes.
Really? That's all? I guess you should probably change the topic, the schedule, and just, no, I'm joking. My Valkyrie privilege, Natara will strip me of my title and throw me back to being a 9 Harryar. Well, I guess, Sarah, do you have any closing topics or comments that you want to bring up?
Sure. I'll do the stereotypical. Please don't forget to check out Take This. We are located at www.takethis.org. We have excellent resources there. You might just find us, there it is in the chat. You might just find us at a convention. So feel free to look us up. We have a wonderful, very, very lovely Discord community. So please check that out as well. Otherwise, please consider donating. It definitely helps us do what we do. And when it comes to diversity factors in games, I have spoken today about some of those. I cannot represent all of those. I cannot represent the entirety of any community I've discussed. I also have very sorely underrepresented many because we haven't talked at great length about any of them, given we have a very short period of time. And so it is hard to do that justice. But you know what you can do if you make games is consult and pay those representatives appropriately, take their advice, and utilize their expertise in a way in which you give them credit at the end as well. Because that is where you're going to get rich storylines and inclusive stories and games. And that is going to, I promise you, pay off in spades. So, and there are safe communities out there. I encourage you to find safe communities out there to be yourselves and to explore who you are. And games are one place to do that. And know that we at Take This support that and being you and being healthy and being you. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Well, thanks everybody for being here and asking lots of questions and basically covering for me, who had a really long call after work at the end of my work days. I wasn't able to properly kind of meet with Sarah and go over everything. But thanks again, everybody, for being here. I hope that you continue to enjoy the marathon. Know that all of the money you are donating to Take This goes to such wonderful causes, like helping Sarah do what she does best. So thank you, everybody. And I hope that you continue to enjoy the rest of the marathon. And I think we are probably okay to wrap it up. Hello, it's me here in Queer.
Thanks everybody for having me. It's been such a joy to be here.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.